And what did we find? Well, we found that our control mice, our normal mice, spent 75% of their time with a novel object. But look at what our TV viewing, our overstimulated mice did. They spent the exact same amount of time. It was as if they couldn't distinguish the two objects or they didn't care. But one way or another, they were not learning. They were not acting like normal mice. Now, I want to talk a little bit about a study we did with children. It's a building block study. It was a randomized trial here in a low-income clinic in Seattle. We took 200 children who were 18 to 24 months of age, and we gave half of them blocks at the beginning of the study and half of them blocks at the end. And their parents got what we call blocktivities monthly. These were ways to play with your children with blocks. Sort the blocks, stack the blocks, count the blocks. Really simple things that come naturally to a lot of parents, but what a lot of low-income parents don't do with their children regularly. And here's what happened. The children who got the blocks, 59% of them played with them on a typical day, as opposed to 13% who didn't get the blocks initially. They played for about 20 minutes a day, about 1.5 episodes a day, and about 65% of the time was with their parent. And then 6 months later, we assessed their language. And see on the right here that the kids who got the blocks late scored in the 42nd percentile, which is below average, but unfortunately not uncommon in low-income populations in Seattle and, for that matter, around the world. And the kids who got the blocks, they actually scored at 56th percentile. Significantly better and slightly above average. So promoting that kind of interactive play actually promoted language development in these young children. So I want to conclude by impressing on you that early childhood is very important for children and for mice, and it's critical to their development. And we need more real-time play today and less fast-paced media, particularly for young children. It's vitally important that we have that, because if we change the beginning of the story, we change the whole story. Thank you very, very much.
Wow, that was really insightful. Effective TV on kids. Interesting. Anyways, we have the expert, as always, the amazing Ardhati Sivigurunathan in the studio, our child go-to expert.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yes, I didn't meet you two guys.
You did.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't.
So we're going to say it anyways, even if you don't like it. Happy New Year. All right. So kids again, speaking about it, parents watching right now, they want to know, is TV good for your child? If so, why and why not? That is the question.
Okay. It's like this. Say TV has been a subject which has been criticized for years, right? And we know the influence of TV is not good for children, right? And especially now there's a ban in other countries, kids young as 2, like 0 to 2, they're not to introduce TV to them because it has no specific or anything good about that stimulus to their mind, right? So the presentation we saw before will give you the entire detail of a pediatrician explaining not to watch TV, right? So there are bad effects on it. The point is, the way I see it for the question you ask is, this is the time the child's mind is developing, right? And the child has no sense of how to control the mind.
Just to make things clear, we're talking about a child instance from the age of
1 or actually about now TV is introduced to a child young as 4 months.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. It's like the whole action entertainment thing going on for a child's life, which is not great. So when you introduce a TV as entertainment for a child that young, as 4 months, you are releasing too many stimuli to the brain, which maybe they cannot handle. Right? So it's a real fast-paced kind of stimulus going to the brain, where there is really no positive outcome of it in the latter part of life.
All right, so let me get it straight. What you're saying is TV is okay for a certain amount or no TV at all?
So the point is, the child that young is very impressionable, right? I mean, everything that goes into the mind is an impression. So we are not showing reality. So if you are giving the child too much of unrealistic thing into the mind, what are we teaching them?
Okay.
What do you mean exactly realistic and unrealistic? Do you have a clear definition on it?
Yes, I mean, for example, since you're talking about very young children, mostly the parents will show cartoons, right?
Yeah.
Right. So there's nothing realistic about a cartoon. Everything
Yeah, there is. There's like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and they're real. Okay, they're not. I just had to. It was over. Sorry.
So it's a character which, that's what I said, you need to keep in mind the child is severely impressionable by this. So as you said about your turtle, right, that turtle becomes a hero in the child's mind. So what are we giving into the child's mind? What is the child learning by this?
That you could be a turtle who's a ninja. But that's not a good thing because that's not real.
Yeah, for me, I think giving my own layman's perspective here, I think it could actually depend on what the child watches. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, because there are so many channels, if you could call it, on cable television, if you could really consider, which is channels which specifically target the little ones, the really little ones.
Like Dora the Explorer.
Not even
Blue's
that.
Clues.
I mean...
Have you heard
really
us saying?
don't know how to put it across, but it just the target market of that particular TV channel could be the ones below the age of 1.
Yeah, so they say the best selling product is the product you sell to the children, right?
Right.
So that's a marketing strategy.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with the impressions or the effects which a lot of TV watching can do to a child.
Right.
There is no development.
What if you take, for example, you get like educational cartoons, like, or even educational kids TV shows like Sesame Street. That played a huge role in everyone, like the generation of America is raised up on Sesame Street. When parents go to work, they put the kids in front of that TV, and that would teach you how to, your ABCs, your 1, 2, 3s, everything. So what is your take on that?
See, my take on that is from Sesame Street to nowadays, the entire process of cartoon has generated into a very fast-paced, more violent, more aggressive form of TV watching.
So you do agree with the fact that it depends on the cartoon as well?
Not really. I do agree upon the fact that if the child is in an age maybe about 3 years old, for a relaxation maybe you can give about half an hour TV to basically explore what is out there. But still you need to understand it shouldn't be violent or aggressive, right? So Sesame Street didn't have all kinds of this. It was like characters where they built up for the child to relax, right? But still that doesn't mean you put the child in front of the TV for 3 hours watching Sesame Street expecting them to learn the ABCs. This is your job as a parent.
Right.
Right? Because what happens when the child spends too much of time on the couch, social interaction is cinch. Right? They don't have anybody for social interaction, and plus they become lazy.
Right. Okay, so the side effects of being lethargic with
and no social
and antisocial at the same time. Let's talk about long term here. Say this kid who's never watched TV, who wasn't allowed to watch TV, grows up and he's left out of this pop culture referencing. For example, if me and Banu would go out as friends and we would meet our other friends, we would talk about, oh, did you see the show last night? Do you remember that cartoon from back in the day? Wouldn't that child feel left out in the future when he says, oh, I never got the chance to watch TV?
Yeah, this is the thing. That is target market. As he said before, what the media does is it targets to the young children.
Right.
And as you said, if Banu said, no, I have not watched it, he becomes the Dirk or he becomes the geek. Oh gosh, you haven't seen the program. So this is a severe effect on a child.
Right.
So this is why parents need to balance it, that the child will not get into the social circle.
So it's more of a universal concept saying, you know what, it should not be allowed for a kid to watch TV at least for this period of time.
Yes. You work around
realistic
it.
here. It's not that every parent is not going to, let the kid watch TV. I mean, we all...
Hence why the show. Hence why this wake-up call, I think.
Yeah. Plus the fact is that they spend too much of time in front of TV.
Okay, right. So that you have to find the balance, obviously, because we're talking realistic stuff here, because no parent's not going to be like, oh, I'm not going to... Because they would love to watch TV themselves, and there is a TV in the house. So what you're saying is, if it comes to that, you just have to find a way of balancing TV with your child.
balancing the reality of life, balancing the social skills with your child.
Right.
Try to spend more time as humans with each other rather than
Right.
trying to find entertainment in a box.
Right.
Where you are like all robots in
Right.
the same house just staring at a TV.
Right. So you're saying obviously it will help with in the future when it comes to imagination, and your brain would work at a much higher and faster rate.
If you don't watch TV, yes.
We're talking about television now, I know, but talking from that point onwards, improving itself, because now we live in a world where virtual reality takes a little bit of a spin. Yeah, people, actually the youngsters right now, don't have time to watch TV, but they prefer to be, play an online game. And I think that is also connected to this, because it's still staring at a PC. It's still on screen time. What's the connection do you see between those things, and are the effects the same?
Almost the same, and especially on the games, the violence part of is higher than what you see on the cartoons. Say cartoons and stuff the mother can analyze and say, okay, you're not watching this, you're not watching that.
Yeah.
But games can be downloaded, and especially if I say, for example, the wrestling games. Right?
Yeah.
As a teacher, I always
Wrestling.
experience that young kids of about 4 years, if they get into a small brawl, the first way they tackle their friend is from the neck,
Right.
and that's an exact wrestling move which they watch on these games.
Right.
So it's the same thing, but the only thing I see is the development is in the eye-hand coordination, because your eyes and your hands are like so quick, right? And the funniest thing is the parents, when the parents say, okay, can you do this for me, can you do this for me, when it comes to gadgets, children feel very important, but it's just eye-hand coordination, because they're always practicing pressing and watching, pressing, watching. That's the only thing that's going to develop.
The thing is, when we were young, I'm not saying that I'm really old, okay, but going...
So he says. I wish there was a close-up of my face right
Okay.
now. So he says.
All right, going back about 10 years back, when I was about, say, I wouldn't say it, but we always used to have time to go play outside with our friends,
Yeah.
There was this thing called Sambola Kadana, where you hit the legs or whatever from below the waist to your friends, with a rubber ball or a tennis ball. You kind of basically have fun, outside, and that was the fun defined for us, not basically television as well. But right now it's turning a huge twist, and people right now, they're having a conversation face to face, and the kid will be on the phone, literally having a conversation with someone on the phone, and that person is not actually, the kid is not paying attention to the person who is seated next to you.
So as I said, there's no social interaction anymore. Like if you have noticed, even if you go to a house in our days, if a visitor came in, the parents would be very particular about you coming, spending time with the people who came. Right? You make sure you
come
sit.
here, auntie and uncle are here,
Yes,
come down, say hi.
You have to sit around, because it was very important to have that kind of social interaction. But nowadays, try to get a child down and tell them to sit for 5 minutes. They're like, okay, whatever, about they'll be on whatever they're doing. And it's so rude. It is against all morals to act like that, as you said, when somebody's talking to you. So their priority has become the gadget, not the human being. So there's no balance.
So I think it's more than the generation gap. It's something to do with the right way of educating your kids. Yeah, it's not the right way. I think you need to have a balance, as Jason rightly pointed out before, and give the right appraisal to them as well. And then, put them into the right path. Don't you agree?
Yes.
How would you word it?
Environment. I think we need to work on a very much more close in the sense, not close, like very close relationship wise, and a healthy environment.